Hey, I'm Tim Baker. I'm a singer-songwriter with the band Hey Rosetta, and I'm delighted to be here in the mountains of Honduras. It's incredible to witness the seeds and the work of FIPAH and the farmers here. It was a very beautiful and kind of heartbreaking and totally surreal trip. Most of the lowlands that we drove through, the flat plains, extremely fertile, beautiful soil, was all sort of monoculture, big industrial farms. And when we arrived here and sort of discovered the terrain on which these people farm, it's a little startling that they have to toil on these, 45-degree slopes. When you drive up into the mountains first thing in the morning, you pass men and women, farmers, some on horseback, some on foot, others in the beds of pickup trucks, winding up the roughest roads you've ever seen, climbing to fields of maize and beans more than 1,000 meters above sea level. These are really small farming communities, very small, like a couple hundred people up in the mountains, where FIPAH has set up CIALs, local agricultural research groups, committees, and we'd be pretty warmly welcomed wherever we went. We'd meet often. We were offered some food, some beans, and some tortillas when we arrived, and then we would start hiking. The soil is poor here, and erosion and the effects of climate change are a constant battle. But it's a battle with a noble cause, and they're fighting for something as fundamental to Hondurans as maize.
El maíz para nosotros es la fuente principal de nuestra alimentación y la fuente principal de nuestra espiritualidad. Entonces, el maíz no solo es un cultivo más para hacer dinero, sino es el fundamento de nuestra vida.
It's a foundation that, for the last dozen years, these hillside farmers have been building on.
Esta es una parcela de maíz chileño. Esta parcela es sembrada el 26 de junio, con la idea de que haya una mejor selección de maíz para volverla a sembrar de nuevo.
With the help of USC Canada and their local partner, FIPAH, which stands for the Foundation for Participatory Research with Honduran Farmers, and which is one of USC Canada's local partners. Farmers here have been cross-pollinating, hybridizing, and selecting different strains of maize and beans, some old and some new, to make better, healthier, higher-yielding plants. In the process, they become scientists and researchers in their own right. But if the future here depends on maize varieties that can resist heavy rains and high winds and whatever else climate change throws this way, the same goes for the other vital Honduran crop, beans. What kind of things do you want in terms of the plant size? Like what kind of is a taller plant better? Is a shorter plant better? Is there a wind issue, a flooding issue, a climate change issue?
Bueno, en arquitectura de planta nosotros siempre buscamos que sea más arbolito.
The farmers here in La Esperanza are fiercely protective of traditional bean varieties, but also eager to test new ones. Biodiversity and sustainability are more than just concepts here. They can make the difference between eating and going hungry. It turns out that tree-shaped bean plants are less likely to strangle nearby plants. They're easier to weed, and they suffer less rot when the heavy rains come. And they always do. La Esperanza, where we're standing now, means the hope. And even on a rainy day, you can feel there is hope here. It used to be that every year in June, people in these hillside communities went hungry. Los Junios, or the Junes, were those weeks when there was nothing in the fields to harvest and food stocks ran empty. And for those weeks, I imagine hope was in poor supply as well. But now that farmers are organized, now that they have better seeds and a better strategy for planting and harvesting, food is more plentiful. And life is getting better. Thursday we went to Agua Sucia. And this is really, really high altitude. This was 1,400 meters above sea level, I think. And finally we arrived at this very steep, isolated, beautiful cornfield where we spoke to Flora Cruz.
Pues a mí me gusta bastante lo que es el cultivo de maíz. Me gusta hacer ¿cómo se llama? Ver la calidad de maíz, ¿verdad? A la que se adapte a la altura.
It was her plot that she worked on her own. She's a female member of the CIDA there.
Sembramos maíz, frijoles.
I think she said some interesting things. She said that she didn't want to rely on men. She said she didn't want her husband to do all the work by himself.
Podemos trabajar también y podemos cultivar. No solamente el hombre, ¿verdad? Solo dejarle a él que haga el trabajo, pues.
And life is not just living comfortably.
Me gusta mucho trabajar, ¿verdad?
It's about working hard, she said.
Para no depender de nadie, sino depender de ellos mismos.
I thought that was pretty powerful. One day, during our visit to Honduras, in the little town of Llorito, there was a seed fair. All these farmers had come down from the hills with their produce and to show their, there's dozens of varieties of beans, beautiful beans. I never really thought of beans as being so beautiful, but a million different colors and shapes and sizes. In so many villages and towns here in Honduras, young people have moved away into the cities looking for work. Here in Llorito, though, I met some teenagers who have found something to stay for.
Tenemos un CIAL llamado JARA que se llama Jóvenes al Rescate del Ambiente. En primer lugar, para presentar la variedad de plantas que tenemos acá por estos lugares y para dar a conocer la diversidad de...
Cultivamos hortalizas, cultivamos maíz, criamos pollos, cerdos, porque el día de mañana nosotros no conseguimos un trabajo, podemos cultivar en el campo tomates porque podemos sostenernos en nuestras casas.
When they asked me to sing, I just had to figure out what song might make the most sense here. I sort of had thought for a while what song might be good, and I chose a song of hope. You will do all right. Of a seed and a young child sort of coming into the world and becoming something bigger than they are to start with. Everything you need for this hard ride. As Wayne remarked, food is one international language, but there's of course another in music. And so, what kind of message can a singer-songwriter from Canada hope to bring back from a week like this in Honduras? Maybe that even if the changes that are taking place here are happening high on distant Honduran hillsides, they're changes that have the potential to reverberate around the world. Like carefully selected seeds themselves, the ideas and practices that FIPAH and USC Canada are helping to teach are taking root and growing and changing people's lives. The farmers of La Esperanza have quintupled their bean yield since 1995. In Agua Sucia, Flora Cruz is proving that women are just as independent and resourceful as men. And in Santa Cruz, the farmers have developed new maize varieties that are making their compatriots in other parts of the world sit up and take notice.
Y hacíamos un chiste en ese entonces nosotros con Omar y algo. En deporte, en fútbol no le ganamos a los mexicanos, pero en maíz sí les ganamos. Ese era el chiste que hacíamos.
Nos han dado teoría, nos han dado práctica, capacitación que hace poco fui a dar allá. ¿Cómo le dicen? Correcto. Entonces me ha gustado mucho. Bueno, yo he sido, como dijo Pedrito, que yo había habido un cambio. Mire, Yo en primer lugar mi vida era hacer bolos. Me miraba con una bomba para arriba y para abajo. Y a veces andaba por ese guinto y yo me iba con toda bomba. Entonces la idea hoy, ya voy con 4 años de no tomar.
Chica, le felicitamos.
Gracias, gracias. Bueno, mucho gusto. Bueno.
Usted se gana un premio porque está muy bonito esto.
Sí, correcto.
Y al haberlo hecho.
Sí.
Pedro, vamos a ir analizando cuál es el premio que le vamos a dar a don Pedro.
Bueno.
The people, they were,
Ya.
you could see that they'd been through hard times,
Vamos a aprender muchísimo.
but that it was sort of past.
Trabajamos y
And
cosechamos.
I think that sort of echoed into their whole lives. You know, the idea that it's getting better and better if you work hard and you go about it the right way. Wow.
Sí.
Y ahora solo que no queramos hacer tortillas y cocinar frijoles, pero todos los días tenemos una.
I think that's something that has really struck me more than anything, I think, is the resiliency and the determination and the grit of the people here. You know, they're faced with a lot of hardship, hard weather, they have hard plots to produce from. It just seems like everything's sort of against them. But the determination that you see is incredible, it's inspiring. And I think a lot of it has sort of come from this work that USC and FIPAH, you know, is doing. These agricultural research groups and the techniques being spread here are more than just food. They echo into everyone's lives. Each crop that you harvest, you select the beans and you select the corn and the right seeds, the strongest seeds that yield the best and work the best for that situation. And each year, when you plant those better seeds, it gets better and better. And that's a really inspiring and that's a really sort of powerful message to be for them to be learning, and I think that they feel that. That was too late. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Gracias.
Cualquiera que le cante.